Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling geeky download. My name is Uncle Tommy, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's our resident freelance crime journalist of the pod, DL. How are you, mate?
I'm good, man. But I do like the puppy stories, not crime journal. Like who stole this lab?
Oh, right.
Or I'm more of like a daytime
piece kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm more of a daytime news journalist.
Oh, right. Interesting.
Not crime.
I'm sorry, I misread your LinkedIn profile.
You mischaracterized me there.
By the way, I have to call out there. I said Uncle Tommy. That isn't how I usually introduce myself. Imagine walking into like a meeting and be like, "Hi, I'm Uncle Tommy."
You're like fucking avoid the schools. Yeah. You fucking weirdo.
Like Captain Birdseye. Do you ever think about Captain Birdseye?
I don't even know what that is.
Is this a British brand? There's a British brand, probably British. I don't know. There's a brand of frozen like chicken nuggets and shit. And now I'm finding out it's probably just in the UK.
Yeah, the Dino Nuggets.
Birdseye.
Yeah.
That's the name of it. And they sort of, as the advertising for it like progressed over time, they they evolved it to have like a captain as their character. So Captain Birdseye was a thing. Now the advertising then progressed to being this weird like Lord of the Flies type advertising where it was a bunch of kids on an island. But on the island with all the kids was Captain Birdseye. And like if you don't think that's a bit rapey, I'm not sure I can be friends with you.
It is a bit rapey.
It's a little bit rapey.
Captain Crunch wasn't rapey.
He was.
I guess it would be. They were on a boat.
He was on a boat.
I guess when you think about it.
But anyway, I don't introduce myself as Uncle Tommy. My brother just had his second kid, and we have a new listener to the podcast, and I'm super excited because I'm going to get to meet her when we go home at Christmas.
Congrats.
Now, you tell me this, DL.
Congrats. That's so beautiful.
When my brother texted me, and we were talking about names, and I'm going to say my last name, but I will say his kids' names. He texted me saying her name is Bria Olive. Now, I read that the first time as Brie Olive, which is a beautiful name.
B-R-E... Wait, what did you say?
B-R-E-I-A.
E-I-A.
So, I read that the first time, not paying as much attention to names as I should have been, and I was like, oh, Brie Olive, and my brain immediately went, she's a bit of meat away from an charcuterie board.
It's funny.
I don't know what was wrong with me that day.
That's funny.
It's Bria, and it's a beautiful name.
I don't know why you went with Olive.
I didn't go with Olive.
You did.
No, the name is Bria Olive.
Oh, her last name is Olive.
No, man, her last name is the same as my last name.
I don't know, but it's 2020. Maybe you never know.
Apple. No, her name is Bria Olive, and my brain
called it Brie and Olive. My
brain, in its stupid state, whatever it was in the morning, read Brie as in cheese.
Yes.
So I immediately thought, oh, that's a nice charcuterie board in the making.
No, I think that's not a weird thing. That's a funny joke.
Right.
But now that you explain
you have to explain it multiple times. Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Isn't that interesting how that stuff works? How are you, mate? How have you been?
I've been working a lot. And
I tell you one thing,
a lot of busy work though.
That you'll like.
Yeah.
I went at go-karting with a bunch of the partners' friends last weekend. It was, proper, not like these crap little electric things, like proper go-karting, like where they're like proper petrol, pretty hectic. They can get up to like 80 k's an hour, which is pretty hectic, pretty good. But the one thing they don't tell you as you become like a middle-aged human being, I'm now in my mid-30s, as you well know, is that fuck me, it hurts.
Yes, it is. It is tough. It is tough. Like, also, I wish it could hurt. Last 3 times I've gone, dude, there's just a bunch of there's a lot of people that always get stuck.
Okay.
And then you're just stuck behind them. Oh. Have you done the one in the entertainment center?
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
That's the electric one.
Dude, I'm just like, it's like a traffic jam. Like, I could just go to LA for this. What is going on? Can you guys stop just running into the wall?
Oh, man. Ours was pretty good. The guys doing it were like actually fairly good level in ours. And the one person who wasn't particularly good, one of my partner's friends' girlfriends, after the practice laps decided that it wasn't for her. So she stopped.
I wish most of the people would do that. Because every time I'm like, man, I'm having a great lap. And then it's just a freaking like the 405. And I'm like, I'm either going to kill someone or I stop. So I stop. So you're feeling a bit, rough around the edges.
I felt the shit up the day after. I literally felt like I'd been beaten up by Jonathan Majors.
I was going to say, speaking of,
God, that is a bad joke.
Yeah.
But he was in the news, wasn't he?
Yeah, his trial started or something.
Oh, yeah. That's basically going to be whether Marvel continues with him. Because he could go to jail.
I feel like they have to kind of make a decision. Like they're not going to wait.
They got to.
How long is this trial going to go?
Oh,
I think they've already made a decision.
You'd think Marvel have made the decision.
Yeah.
There's all the talk about Cillian Murphy, maybe being Doctor Doom. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. Who's the guy who's in No Country for Old Men, the bad guy?
Oh, that guy. Forget his name. I was gonna say
Javier Bardem. They're talking about
the
him.
Fucking weirdest haircut in this movie.
Aren't they talking about him for Galactus as well? Like, I think that's a weird, interesting choice.
I've liked him in a couple things, but I think he's not as good as people make him out to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
What haven't you liked him in?
The Little Mermaid.
Okay. Where he's got a multicultural set of daughters.
Yes. I've already heard my rant there.
Fox?
My rant. Wasn't he in Skyfall?
He was
all right.
Yeah, he was great in Skyfall.
Yeah,
he was like
that.
Gollum.
Yeah, he was good in that.
Gollum on meth.
And he's in Dune, and we haven't seen much from him in that.
No. Yet. He's coming in.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays.
I rate him. He was No Country for Old Men.
He's great in that. He's like very frightening for sure.
He's got a bit of terrifying about him. And I feel like it's hard to write a good villain. He clearly does a lot with a little. Like, I don't feel like Silver in Skyfall was written to be as terrifying as the whole bit where he's insinuating that James Bond has never tried being with a man and stuff. And like the way he makes even that menacing. Yeah. Like, that's hard to do.
To be honest, he hasn't just been in that much stuff to be like I actually don't think he's been in as much stuff as I thought I had. I just looked at his IMDb's.
I wonder if he's ever been in
a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
Imagine him in a rom-com.
No, he has been. A lot of stuff in the 90s was like that.
Oh, really? Even for him?
But it's just not recently.
Not overly memorable.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, maybe it was a bad take. Sometimes everyone's due. I'm due.
I rate him. Yeah. I think he'd be good in it. But I'd prefer to see Cillian Murphy, to be honest with you. I think he's a fantastic actor.
I think he's good. Sometimes I'm like, did Marvel always get big actors? I guess a lot of people did. Like Captain America, he was huge.
He wasn't huge at that point.
Chris Pine? Chris
Evans?
Reoccurring joke for the pod.
Listen back to a few multiple episodes. You'll get it there. No, he
was big. He wasn't huge.
He wasn't huge.
That made him huge.
They seem to get...
That's his biggest role.
They seem to have done the super bad thing, where they got a lot of actors who are on the precipice of going to that next level, hooked them in at the right time, and then taken them through to being at that next level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I kind of feel like some of the people that you like, if you're going to get Cillian, like, he's not going to be invested in the way that he needs to be invested in Marvel. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's just not, and you're going to see that.
Jake Gyllenhaal was pretty invested, though.
For the half a movie that he only did one movie.
Speaking of, I thought he was terrifying in the movie we're talking about today.
Oh man, what a good movie, Nightcrawler.
We are talking about Nightcrawler.
What an aptly named movie.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have differing opinions on this film, I think.
Well, fair enough, but
not in any way that I thought it was bad or anything.
Yours is wrong. It's okay.
No, just
okay to be wrong.
Opinions on it. I'm not saying it is anyway bad. I enjoyed the film. It is. It's a terrifying film.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's an interesting one. We'll talk about it. Before we do, actually, it is Spotify Wrap time.
Oh, God.
Did you open your Spotify
Wrap?
No,
and you're making me do it live. And it's so bad because I only listen to Spotify at the gym. And
Brilliant.
My gym music is not what I would play.
Listeners, if you have Spotify Wrapped, let us know what you got for your top songs. Oh, wow, that's loud.
Yeah, it's like emo.
Brilliant.
Screamo hardcore rock. Let's see.
Tell me who. Give me your top 5 songs.
It's not telling me. It's just playing it, which is even more embarrassing. Some 1975.
Oh, all right. Okay. Not too screamo.
This is Thrice. You know Thrice?
Nope. No idea.
They are like a post-hardcore band.
So you can flick through to get you just your top 5 artists.
Oh, I'm just like, interested. Should I just go to the end?
You can just flick through a little bit.
Okay.
It's about halfway through.
Okay, here we go. John Mayer is number 1. Wow.
Yeah, real screamo stuff.
I'm a big fan of John Mayer. Actually, I write that. The 1975 is 2.
Okay, all right.
Chasing Victory, a emo band from my gym playlist.
Baffled by some of these.
Sound of Animals Fighting, good song. Seosin, another emo band.
You really like your emo bands.
Well, I just only like when I'm at home, I put on through a different app because you
can't. What app do you put it on through?
Like the Sonos app, because I can't listen through my speakers. So like my home chill playlists are not represented in my Spotify. The only thing represented is my gym playlist, which is like literally 400 songs of hardcore rock. Like anyway. So that's that. What podcast?
My top artists are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Sam Fender, you know I love Sam Fender. Yeah. Blink 182, of course it's Blink 182. Who else? Arctic Monkeys, which I'm surprised by because I don't listen to them that much. Harry Styles, very surprised by that one.
That is shocking.
Didn't expect that to be in there. And then 1975, I've not been listening to them as much recently. I find him a bit, he's just annoying now. Like I've got over the lead singer.
Yeah, but I don't like listen to him talk. I just listen to the music. So honestly, that was a pretty shocking list. I think it's just like also the songs that like on your Spotify playlist when you press shuffle, it usually, for some reason, it almost always starts with the same song for me, which was one of those songs I just played. Which
I think
to me
they've
is
changed how the algorithm works on that.
Anyway,
recently.
I most of the time when I'm on Spotify, it's either gym or it's play podcasts.
Speaking of Spotify,
yeah.
If you were to open your Spotify app to rate a podcast like our own, so hypothetically, like you, the listener, if you were opening Spotify to listen to this podcast and you saw us, what would you recommend they potentially give us out of 5 stars?
After that showing in my review, very low. but that's not why you came. So 5 stars.
We'd love it if you gave us 5 stars. You can do it right there in Apple, in Spotify, whatever.
Shameless plugging.
We would really appreciate that.
Really care,
I hate doing this part, so if you could do it for us, that would really help.
You hate rating yourself?
I hate begging for scores. It's not very becoming, is it? And there will be time codes in the description. As always, they will be supplied by friend and editing master of the show, Mr. Matthew Bliss. Stick around. We'll give you his episodes. We'll give you his details at the end of the show. Not his episodes. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
We'll give you his details, and you can get a master of your own. DL. It's been happening, buddy.
Dude.
What have you been up to?
I've been reading Red Rising. I'm just getting to, like, it's starting to get good. It was kind of really boring to start. And you're right. I know what you mean. It's like they just skip over shit where I'm like, this kind of needs to be dug into, like a little bit more like narration or like dialogue to indicate what's happening.
Yeah.
As opposed to just his thoughts. And like really abruptly, like, these are the 3 houses. It's like, there could be more of that. I think you could tell it's this guy's first book when you actually
big time.
But it's a really compelling setting.
Yes.
When he gets to the what do they call it? The school or whatever.
So he's got to the school.
He's just been drafted.
Right.
And he's having the conversation at the table with the other people that were in the first round.
The bit that I was sort of getting at without trying to tell you, it was, when he's going through the transformation.
Yes.
Like, they spend so much time talking about that bit. And it's like, it's horrifying. And it's like, man, like, this could be like a chat. Like, it was like 5 chapters.
I guess they're trying to like highlight the scope and I guess and like emphasize the scope of the change, which I take your point.
To me,
there's always a part of these kind of books though that have that, because you need to like invest in the agony of a character to understand certain parts.
But
I just think it was a bit boring.
Backstory at the beginning about his wife and stuff. That's all the agony. I don't need to know about this as well. Give me more of that then.
I think that like that it needed to be paired with something other than self-sorrow or like or self-motivational thoughts. You're right, because it starts to get boring. I agree. That's when I was like slowing down a lot. I was like, oh, this is good. But now it's getting interesting, because I almost feel like where this is going is he might have this big debate within himself if they're as bad as he thinks eventually. Like, he's gonna hate them. They're gonna be terrible. I get that. But I feel like there's gonna be a part of him that is conflicted as he spends more time there, which is an interesting thing to explore. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to act on those feelings, but I think that's an interesting thing to explore.
Okay, we'll come back.
I could be wrong.
We'll come back when you finish the book. So we'll talk about it a bit more. I'd be interested to know a little more about that. Are you liking it so far?
Yeah, I like it. And
who's it by? I forget the guy's name.
Pierce Brown.
I
think that's right.
Would you recommend it halfway through?
I'm not even halfway, but I'd recommend it so far. Yeah. Okay, if you like, it's kind of like a
sci-fi.
It's kind of like a Hunger Games that's less tweeny so far.
Yeah. It doesn't really get the tweeny elements later on either.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I was actually reading up on it afterwards, seeing if maybe it was coming as a movie or a TV show, and it's been floated around a lot. He still owns the rights, Pierce Brown.
Yeah.
But he's running. It was going to be a movie quite a long time ago. And then it was in development as a series for like a Netflix.
I think a series would be better.
Same.
I just don't want it to be Netflix.
I reckon Apple would be perfect
They
for this.
suck at sci-fi.
Apple is so good.
Yeah.
You mean Netflix sucks at sci-fi?
They fucking blow at
Awful. Or a Rebel Moon coming out in 2 weeks.
I think
we're going to do it for the podcast.
Don't you think that indicates to you that
it's
like more about Rebel Moon than it is about Netflix? Like,
oh yeah.
Like the fact that they picked it up. Anyway,
well, I've been doing a fun thing this week.
What is that?
I finished Spider-Man 2, the video game.
Damn, you breezed through that, mate.
It took me way longer. Friend of the show, Ollie, my God, finished it in like 2 days. I was like, what is wrong with you, you psychopath?
Yeah, that's wild.
It took a lot of time. I take my time with these games. You know that.
Yeah.
I like to explore them. I like the world. Found it really interesting. I mean, it's a really beautiful New York setting.
Yeah.
I like how the characters have developed in this.
Yeah.
So it's not spoiling anything, I don't think. It's not, because I read it in like one of my first reviews I read of it.
Yeah.
But I think Miles Morales is going to be the main Spider-Man in this universe moving forwards, where they're both still there, they're both still together, but like I like that because I way preferred playing as him.
You mean just the combat?
Yeah, the combat's better. I just find him a more compelling character.
I mean, he's literally like cornbread white.
Oh yeah, big time.
The other Peter Parker. He's just such a little white.
Petey.
Just like such a white dude.
He takes some dark turns in this one, which I like. I like
Love
a
that
lot.
for him.
It's a good game. I can lend you it if you ever want to borrow it.
I would want to play.
Doesn't have New Game Plus yet, so I can't replay through with all my extra special powers and abilities.
I never do that.
Neither.
I kind of like the challenge of the build. Like otherwise it's boring ass. Like if New Game Plus like had like a crazy difficulty, like sure. Yeah. You know what I mean? That would be interesting. But
like I know people who replayed Elden Ring multiple times on New Game Plus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
What extra are you getting out of this?
Yeah, I don't know.
I get like being able to start and like murk the first few guys straight away. That's fun.
But then it gets boring.
But then like what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're just doing all the same stuff on easy mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
I agree. If there's like a New Game Plus where it's like because I'm so like beef-caked out, you've souped up the enemies and have to try different strategies with my new talents.
Right. Yeah, right.
That would be cool.
Or you could unlock actually good other endings and stuff. Like the different endings in Elden Ring were so dull.
Yeah, that's like
it
The
was
Witcher.
Literally the same thing like 5 times with different color palettes. I was like, cool.
You mean different colors of gray?
Pretty much. Like, one was a Zack Snyder one. One was a Joss Whedon one. I was like, but anyway, Spider-Man 2, really good video game. I know this isn't exactly blowing anyone's mind with this revelation that a big budget Insomniac Spider-Man 2 game is good, but I liked what they did with the characters. I like the direction it's going. The threequel is obviously going to be amazing. They've set up some really cool villains for the next one.
Yeah.
Muy bueno.
Yeah. I'm excited to play it. There's so many games ahead of it, but
yeah, right.
I do like that game. I just think it's like, I am kind of at the point in my gaming career where I play like 9 or 10s. And I think that's an 8. So it's like eventually it'll get in my queue.
Yeah, right.
Because it is fun. Like it's the best parts of it are some of the most fun things.
Yeah, right.
But it's super repetitive. Like it's like you do this.
They did a lot in this game to try and change that. So like yes, some of the missions are quite competitive and stuff, but like the way the combat works is it's not quite as easy as the previous games. So you don't just like beat a guy by kicking him a couple of times.
Yeah.
And the enemy types are a bit different too, so you have to have different strategies for them. You have to use your webs and stuff in different ways. They've definitely tried to build on what they did.
Not that it's a bad game. No. I just, I got like Alan Wake, I got the other Horizon Zero Dawn game, I've got The Witcher. There's so many things ahead of it.
Question for you.
Yes.
Question for you very quickly. As I have literally just finished this, do you ever get like end of video game blues? And this is a random question.
If it's like a good game.
Yeah. And I never realized this until I finished this. I don't think it's that the game is amazing. It's that I really like the gameplay of it. I finish a game that I really like, and I'm like, I don't want to start a new game yet, but I don't want to jump back into the world because I've just done it. And I'm sort of in this weird middle ground where I don't know what to do with myself. I've got this energy for playing video games, but I almost need another one immediately after to play something, keep going with it.
Yeah, I usually play it again, and I play it on hard.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but like I play a lot of survival horror.
Yeah, right.
So it's like kind of fun because it's like now I know where shit is and it's going to be harder. And I can just, I played like Resident Evil again right after I beat it.
Yeah, right.
There's certain, yes, I do that. Because I'm not ready to leave. Yeah.
I want to know from the listeners, is this like a thing? Do you get like end of video game blues? Like hit us up at Podcast Assemble on Instagram. Let us know because I found it weird that I've had this my whole life and I've never said it or put a finger on it.
Yeah, I've definitely. I mean, Halo was when I first felt that.
Yeah, right.
But the reality is like most of the games these days I don't finish.
Yeah,
because they're so fucking big.
True.
So it's like I think it's like rarer that happens, but it happens.
I guess I play a lot of games with like a specific ending. So I play a lot of single player video games with good like narratives and such because that's what I like to play. That's my genre. That's how
I technically never finished Red Dead Redemption 2.
Really?
I'm in the like last 3 missions, which it's like there's an epilogue where like you literally like surely the game's over.
Yeah, right.
And then there's another like 5 hours of gameplay, and you're playing as a different character. Spoilers. And so like one day I will finish that, but I think I'm just going to do a replay of the whole game and then finish it rather than start where I was.
So I never finished Breath of the Wild, so the Zelda game. I did everything you could possibly do in that world, but finished the game because I was just like, I don't need to.
I don't think I finished that game either.
Yeah, and then
these big games are just too big.
Yeah, I finished Tears of the Kingdom because I really wanted to see the ending to that. Like I heard it had a really epic ending. I was like, oh, cool, I'll do that. Yeah. And I got I think I'd been more invested in some of the story beat because
I've never been invested in Zelda. It's all
Breath of
about the world,
man. It's too much text. It's too much talking.
Well, there's a lot of like, you had to go like find the memories, and I was like, to understand the story, I was like, I don't really like this.
Yeah,
just tell me the story. I don't want to find memories. Like
for a lot of the memories and stuff in the Tears of the Kingdom, I just used a guide. I was like, I don't care enough to find these myself.
Well, I just like didn't even care to look it up to find them.
Yeah, right.
I would have just probably watched a YouTube video, like in order, show me all the memories. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna try and find some acorns. I don't want to be finding these.
Well, the thing I found out about Tears of the Kingdom is that if you don't do some specific things, beat some specific bosses in the game, you know the guys you get who follow you around, they become like your little guys on your shoulder.
Yeah.
If you don't beat those bosses in the game, at the end, before you fight the final boss, you have to fight those bosses. So you could
all together,
one by one, in order. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm good. So I ended up fighting them all, and then going and fighting the final boss.
Fair enough.
It was pretty fun, to be fair. The final boss was fun. He was more challenging technically than he was just like really strong.
Yeah. That's good. That's what you want.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you watch Loki, by the way? Have we talked about this yet?
We haven't talked about Loki. No.
What do you think?
It was a really beautiful ending of the arc of Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Like,
even though he's saying he might not.
Well, who knows? But like,
you know what
I mean? Like, it was a great ending. It was a great. Like, I loved the story. I loved the people. I loved the smallness of it all. Nothing happened. Like, but that's pretty beautiful. I can feel this way about something where literally nothing happened.
Right.
Like no progress, nothing happened.
Yeah. Like I want to argue against that because he became like the god of spoilers for Loki, by the way.
Yeah.
He became like the god of stories, right? But
you made the point. The god of
You made the point before that like the timeline carries on, and he wasn't part of the
time keeps going.
He wasn't part of the sacred timeline in the first place. So
so like literally,
shit, you're right.
Like zero-sum game here. Nothing changed,
and that's my problem with all the Marvel TV shows. There is zero consequence to any of them. They're just a circle of nothing. So you watch Secret Invasion, or you watch She-Hulk, or you watch any of them. None of them progress any of the main story forward.
The only one that did was WandaVision, which was one of the best ones.
It was great.
Yeah.
Loved WandaVision.
And honestly, I loved Loki as a character piece in an investigation. Yeah, right. And it's almost more beautiful for that because he wasn't supposed to. And this is the world where he got that. Right. And he achieved that like catharsis.
Yeah.
And he made a beautiful sacrifice mainly to protect his friends. But like, it's not, I guess like, because I think the beautiful part of it is maybe the TVA, that version of the TVA would have died. Does that make sense? Because they would have blown up when it blew up. And Kane the Conqueror says...
No, because he got time travel powers at the end, so he went back in time.
No, I know.
And saved it.
I know, but my point is, if he didn't do what he did to stop it from exploding, that version of the TVA dies, but he didn't change any of the other outcomes with the fact that like there's all these multiverses and Kane's still coming, and that like, that's all still happening.
Or is he?
Well, you get my point.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly an interesting ending, and I love Tom Hiddleston. Love to see him back in it. I liked that.
I thought he was saying that it was kind of like the end.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where like they pay him enough money, he'll probably come back. Yeah. They give him a good enough story. Right? Yeah. I liked that they didn't spend too much time on the relationship part of Sylvie and Loki. Like they clearly still had feelings for each other, and I think I was reading a thing by the showrunner basically saying like they're in the end of at the end of time. Like the time is ending. When are you going to take time out to go and have like a lovey-dovey scene with these two?
Yeah.
Doesn't fucking make sense. And I was like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense.
I agree with that. And I wanted more Sylvie. I think we got less of her than I would have liked.
I think she was downplayed in this series.
But it's like not the end of the world. It's like, I mean, it is a series called Loki and she is a Loki, but we know which Loki it was referring to.
Sylvie.
But I feel like we'll get her again. So I think she's going to be in it.
I'd like to see more of her. Yeah. It's interesting you say that about Sylvie being a Loki because I saw a great meme the other day that basically said, you look at the variations of Loki that you see and it's the variants. You've got like an alligator, you've got like an old dude, you've got a kid, you've got like a woman, and you look at the variants of Kang and it's just him in different outfits.
It doesn't make sense. It is kind of dumb.
But I was actually one of the other podcasts.
But I guess Loki's like a visual guy. Like he has a, what is it called? Illusions.
No, I think this might make sense because I was listening to a different podcast and this could be absolute nonsense, but
probably is.
They were saying that in Jonathan Major's original contract, he had to play all the variants of him. So that would make sense if he was literally contracted that he had to do all that.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense for the same Sure, that makes maybe.
I mean,
but why
in terms
still
of
the dumb thing to do?
Reality.
Yeah,
It's dumb as fuck, right? Why are you doing this, Marvel?
Yeah.
You're killing us. I like the show a lot. I think
Yeah, it was a good show.
One of the more prestige shows that Marvel have made, shall we say?
I guess like it is. And I guess the point of me saying like nothing happened, because like nothing did happen, is
it's a
more
closed circle.
It's more of a compliment, because it's like we're saying it's one of the best shows and nothing happened. So the point is, you don't always have to have this big epic thing or progress the plot.
Don't tell Marvel that. They'll just do that with they do that with all their shows.
You know what I mean though? Like you can have it be based in character, and
totally.
And that actually does much more for viewers and I think ratings than having it always be the next big thing.
100%. Would you recommend Loki to our
I would recommend
listeners?
I would recommend Loki. I would recommend the new Squid Game show.
Ooh.
That's a reality
with
show.
Influencers?
I don't know if it's influencers, but I think it's going to become that.
Okay.
Like, this is about to be a hit for sure. It was a really good idea by Netflix, to be honest. But it is pretty good.
Real people, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
Okay.
Tell me more. No, it's just they go through the challenges and like get eliminated and shit, so they don't die.
They don't get shot.
The funny part is they all fake die. I'm like, why? Like, it's so funny. They all like
bad acting.
They get like it's like paint and it's like, and then it's just like it's just so dumb. Jesus. I'm like, why are you guys doing this? Like, it's like you either just don't do it or do it, but like you should have not done it.
Yeah, just don't.
Anyway, the new Rick and Morty's awesome. How about that?
I haven't really. Maybe we'll come back to that next week when there's a few more episodes. I've enjoyed watching that. One thing,
4 of them at least.
I think that I did watch that I think you will possibly very much like is there's a new David Fincher film which has been made for Netflix.
The Killer or whatever.
The Killer with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
Now this has been getting mixed reactions because it's incredibly slow and intentionally so. It's about like this contract killer, right? But
he's an assassin.
Yeah. It's more about
didn't realize
it's almost like the logistical side of being a contract killer. Like it starts with him basically sat in a building, watching another building, waiting for someone to arrive. And he's just there for days. And he's like, if you're not like cool, just sitting around for ages, maybe contract killing's not for you because like it's long and it's tiring. It's really interesting.
Dude, contract killing. What a job.
I'd love to talk about this film at some point because it's weird in a good way.
Yeah.
So he's this contract killer and the job goes wrong and it's the fallout of that and how he's not sure what to do because it's never gone wrong before. It's great. It's really interesting. Like part of me feels like it was kind of funny in some weird, but more dry and sarcastic. So for example, this isn't spoiling anything at all. He says his character that he dresses as while he is on jobs, he dresses as a German tourist because he once saw one and realized that nobody paid any attention to the German tourist. And I'm like, that's so fucking true.
That is funny.
So next time you see a German tourist,
careful.
You better watch out.
Careful
I don't think it's for everyone, this film. Like it is very slow and it's methodical and it's his process and how he has to break the process to get to where he needs to go. Really interesting. I would watch it personally.
I know it's on my list. It's on my list.
I think you'd enjoy it.
I keep trying to get Gil to watch it. She's like, can we just watch something happy?
No.
But she does like thrillers. But this probably isn't a thriller if you're saying it's slow. But
it's got good elements. I think if she likes thrillers,
she just she's been wanting to watch happy stuff lately, like Christmas movies and shit.
It's Christmas,
and I'm pitching The Killer.
Yeah,
so it's not really. You could say we're on different vibes.
We're on a different vibe right now.
Fair
enough. Well, if you guys have done anything or have any recommendations that we haven't spoken about, please hit us up. You can find us at Podcast Assemble or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. We are also on our website where you can find all our details, www.podcastassemble.com. Send us recommendations, send us memes. If there's anything we've talked about that you like, let us know. We love it when you do, and we will always call it out. DL, do you want to preface our main topic again?
It's the main topic theme.
Main topic this week is none other than Nightcrawler from 2014.
Yeah.
If you remember. So this is a movie that I think I saw in theaters when it came out.
Righto.
And launched my Jake Gyllenhaal crush.
Oh, man.
Not because of the character he plays, just because of how good the acting was. And his hair is good in this. It's like peak Gyllenhaal hair, I'd say.
So I went out to dinner last night.
It's up there.
That's why I'm a little bit gravelly today.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of beers. And I was talking about movies and stuff with one of the guys there. And
yeah.
We got onto the Jake Gyllenhaal conversation, and immediately we were both like, prime hair.
I mean, there's
better than Leo.
It is better than Leo in a lot of ways.
So many ways.
I would say, but I would argue they're different.
Yes, agreed.
Both top tier, would take either.
Absolutely. 100%. But Jake's, if I had the opportunity, that's where I'm going.
That's what you want?
He has great hair. And in this, greasy and like weird and
Yeah, it's just like really long. Anyway,
you got a stupid plot summary, my man?
I do. Nightcrawler. Watch a guy trade his moral compass for a camera as he gets into an exciting new career opportunity in the world of crime journalism. Spoiler, his camera ends up with a higher body count than your average crime scene.
I like that.
Yeah.
But I struggled with this. One, if I'm quite frank with you. I just had Jake Gyllenhaal lose his mind while becoming the Picasso of crime scene journalism. It's an interesting film. I like it a lot. It's got a lot of weirdness to it, and it is from Dan Gilroy.
He's on Velvet Buzzsaw.
Yeah, he had a load of stuff
hard.
as writing credits on his IMDb.
Yeah.
So, for example, Kong Skull Island. He
Andor.
wrote a lot of Andor,
Yeah.
and I find this fascinating as a directorial effort because he's bringing together a cast of, one major star, but not many other huge stars at this time in their careers. Obviously, Bill Paxton.
And honestly, Gyllenhaal was a star, but like I think like this was like this 2-year period was actually when he got huge.
Yeah,
huge.
right.
Like he did Prisoners and this and like a couple other movies all within 2 years.
Right.
That got, I think,
I
a
haven't
lot
seen
more.
Prisoners. I need to see that.
Oh, it's great. It's one of my faves.
I forgot to say this
yeah.
isn't. We forgot to say up top actually. This is an anthology, one of our many anthologies, and this is movies we should have seen but haven't. Obviously, you've seen this, but
Yeah.
I haven't, so I'm bringing this to the table.
You noticing a trend,
Yeah,
listeners?
Yeah, that I have to come up with all the fucking ideas.
No, that all the movies I've already seen. Have you really not seen this?
Nah,
Oh.
come to the table with one next time. We'll watch one that you haven't
I
seen.
don't know what I haven't seen. I just know what I have seen.
Okay,
You
good.
got to pick one that I
Good
haven't
chat.
seen.
Good chat. Well, anyway, it's got some pretty interesting acts in it. Obviously, Bill Paxton's in this. You'll know him from Apollo 13, Aliens, Twister. I like Rene Russo in this. She's fantastic. She's also in Lethal Weapon 4. Riz Ahmed, who we talked about just last week, I think.
We did. I forgot he was in this.
Phenomenal in this.
I forgot he was in this.
We'll get into him, but there's one other person I wanted to call out who not only has a fantastic name, but also has a fantastic tidbit of his IMDb career. One of the characters, Michael Papajohn, not going to say that isn't a terrible name, who's only a
Loves a
security guard
pizza.
at the beginning of this. Yeah, he loves a
Big
pizza.
pizza guy.
But he is the guy from the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man's who kills Uncle Ben at the beginning. And he's just a security guard in this.
Oh, man. You mean the guy with the crazy ass hair?
Yeah, with the blonde tipped hair. I'm like, how the mighty
Where
have
is
fallen.
he? Michael Pop. That's it. Oh, it is him. He
It
looks
is him,
so
right?
different.
That was going to be my choice for
Security
for a
guard.
goofy IMDb picture, actually.
His biggest role is Spider-Man, American Ultra, and Jurassic World.
It sure is. And if you want to look at his goofy IMDb picture and tell me whether you think it is goofier or not than Or Ashton, who was Dar Ben from the Marvels last week.
I don't think it is.
You don't think
I
it
think
is?
it's a normal picture.
Okay, all right.
It's a
Maybe it's
it's a
just
headshot. It is what it is. It's better than most.
Yeah, that's fair, actually. Maybe it's just his
It's better than most.
his place in my mind as the blonde-tipped man from Spider-Man. He'll never quite live that down.
Yeah. Did you apparently Jake Gyllenhaal in this got real skinny. Like this is
he
a-
lost. We'll
I
talk about
didn't
that
I
soon.
noticed it, but I didn't really notice it until like I saw him in another movie, like as I was going through his IMDb, I saw him in another and I'm like, oh, actually he's a beefcake. What happened in this movie?
Yeah, right. You've just ruined one of our trivia true or false. He
Okay.
actually lost 20 pounds for the role.
Sorry about
And it was
that.
his own idea. So interestingly, one of the themes of the movie is like coyotes.
Yes.
And that was his, like, that's how he wanted the character to be portrayed as like, almost
Honestly,
like a scavenger.
Now that you just said coyote, I'm like,
Tell me
I'm
about
wondering why they didn't have a couple like
Right in the
coyote
background.
motifs. Yeah, it actually would have added a lot of value to
Absolutely.
the artistic film.
So
direction.
what's the overview of this film and what's the plot? We're getting to full spoilers here, right?
Yeah, this is a movie that I think, I saw it when it came out in theaters. It's directed by Dan Gilroy, done a bunch of stuff we talked about. I would describe it as like a non-traditional thriller. Do you think is that a fair?
Yeah.
It's like it is a thriller in a lot of ways.
It's more of a thought-provoking thriller than most.
Yeah, it's not like a traditional thriller, but it is thrilling. You're at the edge of your seat a lot.
It's more thrilling because it's an exploration of a side of humanity that most of us don't think about.
It's in your face about it.
Yeah, it's real up in your grill. It's
And
like
then-
it's right there.
Honestly, it's one of Jake's best performances, like I'd argue, from the movies that I've seen. It really just opens up the manhole cover on one of the little-known capitalistic markets in America, which is independent contractor source videos of the things you see on news, like real life late night city crime and tragedies, accidents, fires, that kind of power the evening news cycle. And we follow somebody who kind of stumbles their way into this, right?
Yeah, right.
We watch this guy kind of stumble into it and then get really good at it and kind of blur the line between participant and observer, right?
Absolutely. And you know what, right? This is going to be a really, from my perspective, really interesting cultural touch point too. And
for sure,
a clash of cultures. Because in the UK, none of this. Like this,
you don't have like evening news.
We have evening news, funnily
like
enough,
this though,
but nothing like this. That nowhere near this level of grotesqueness to the news.
Well, I don't think that. Like, I think this does take like a little bit farther than it would have gone. Yeah,
but I think it's more this shock culture. It's just not part of the news in the UK in the same way that it appears to be in the US. And watching this movie, it was really confronting to me because I'm not used to this type of thing. Oh, and like the chase, you get chases on American TV.
Yeah.
Literally, fucking Anchorman 2 is all about it. There's a whole episode of Friends about it. Like, you get the car chases, right?
Yeah.
Just doesn't happen in the UK. It's not a thing. And I find it really weird when it's just so normal and it's on screen like this.
Yeah, I guess you guys just like harass your celebrities.
Yeah.
You just kill them.
It's very different.
In paparazzi tunnels.
Absolutely.
No, fair. Like there's a sensationalist element to the news cycle in America for sure. And I think also there's just a lot. I don't know if it's true or not, but it feels like there's a lot more of things like this.
Right.
That it could be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
I think sensationalist is a perfect word for it. I think what works for me in this film really was that it was more about vibes than story. Like the story was fantastic, super interesting, but I felt myself being more interested in the vibe I was getting in the scene at any one time. Like, let me put it in perspective. So when this film starts, the very I think I even messaged you about this. The very opening shots of the movie are just shots of LA, and it's beautiful. And it's really interestingly put together.
Yeah.
But it has this like cheerful, almost upbeat soundtrack to it. And I'm like, is Mr. Rogers going to walk in on the side of this? What are we watching? What is happening in this scene? And then there's a clear delineation from that when it starts Jake Gyllenhaal's story, Lou's story. And I was like, the vibe I was getting from that really threw me. And I was then trying to feel out scenes more than analyze them. Is that weird?
No, I think that the vibe of it, I think what my interpretation of the score it relates to the actual vibe of the movie, because I think your point is they're a bit conflicting in certain ways.
Yeah, totally.
Is that it's like personifying Lou's mindset,
right?
Which is he's like doing all these crazy things in a way that's super positive, and why don't you get it? And like it. Yeah. And it's meant to be confronting because like what you're seeing shouldn't feel that way, but it's meant to put you in the mind of how his perspective on this is a career. Why wouldn't I do this? This is what you're supposed, and it's supposed like that's his jolly outlook towards this.
And Lou is
this
a character
thing that is not very jolly. Yeah.
Clearly has some
He's
problems.
got some tiz.
Yeah, he's got some problems. And it's more a lack of empathy than I think anything else.
Well, that's the thing about people on the spectrum. That is something that
oh, absolutely. And
happens.
It's interesting how it's portrayed all the way through the film because it's almost like an escalation. Now, do you know what was really weird? I was watching this and I couldn't get out of my head. It just reminded me of Mice and Men, right? It was escalating at every step of his journey. It was the puppies. It was him getting a camera. It was what was the first one? The rabbits when he gets the camera, and then it was the dogs when he kills the dude to take on the business, and then he's dragging a guy out of his car. It's killing the woman. You know what I mean? It's that escalation. It's really subtly, interestingly done, and I just had that in my head the whole time.
Yeah, I think the escalation is for sure. As he gets better at it, his like moral compass kind of becomes more and more
explain
tweaked.
Nightcrawling to me a little bit more.
Yeah, it's basically like the idea of a night, like he stumbles upon like a car accident.
Yeah, right.
And sees that there's a guy just like filming it. Like, come on. And getting like with a crew.
Yeah.
Runs off and then the guy cuts a deal. Like he just stumbles across this in LA at night and realizes, and he's unemployed. Like he's trying to sell sheet metal to like a warehouse. Like I don't even know that you could do that. That he's stolen. Right. Like he's obviously in desperate need of a job.
Yeah, right.
And you see him just make this discovery that he could kind of go film crime and film like tragedy that at the wee hours of the morning and then go sell it to a news outlet. And you see it from him literally walking in, having no idea how to do it. And just, he's a go-getter.
Yeah, right.
A self-described one. He figures it out by literally watching one thing happen, using Google, and then he just like makes a name for himself by walking into a news
Yeah.
center with a couple videos.
Yeah.
And
it's
that's
interesting
Nightcrawling, I guess.
the relationships he builds around that as like this
Yes.
career he's created for himself, and like he's creating his own business and stuff. Like it's fascinating.
It is. One thing I will say about this, the vibe that it portrays LA like is like pretty real.
Yeah, right.
Like it felt very true as someone from there. And like there's times where you're driving around these big concrete jungle of LA. You're like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah.
Like what is going on around me? Like and you, like at any moment, you're not that you're like scared, but it's just so urban, and you're just kind of like, you know, at 2 a.m. when you're driving home from whatever reason, you are kind of like anything could happen here. You could see someone spin out, and you're like, and it would just be a thing, and you'd just be like driving on, like, and you wouldn't go. You'd call 911, but you probably wouldn't get out of your car, like, or you might. And I don't know. It's
really interesting because I was trying to pinpoint how I would visually describe this film, and you just said it.
Yeah,
I was like, it is a concrete jungle.
Yeah, no, it feels true to what it felt like driving around LA at the wee hours of the night. Is all.
Yeah.
I guess that's the best way to put it.
And you're on edge the whole time you kind of watched it,
Yeah.
because not only is this character you're following completely lacking empathy, as in to the point it's like criminal, it's scary.
Yeah.
Literally, you're on your edge of your seat. But also, the city itself is like a character in the way it's portrayed.
Yeah.
Anything could go wrong at any moment, and he's constantly just trying to find that moment.
Yeah.
Which is quite exasperating at times.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also he's exasperating.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so intense.
It's no better portrayed than when he has sort of like the relationship he is building with Rene Russo's character, Nina Ramona, who is effectively buying the videos from him for the stations.
Yep.
And she's
kind of found a almost like a not true valued asset, right?
Yeah,
like it's like she got the stock when it was low, because he's really good at this, but he doesn't know his value, at least initially. Yeah.
And it's interesting, but it's as much an exploration of Jake Gyllenhaal's character as hers. Like, how deprived is she willing to be to get ratings?
Yes.
And it just spirals.
It does.
It's fascinating. And he's bringing her wilder and wilder stuff that, you know, other people aren't shooting because they can't get that close.
Or choose not to.
Yeah, because, you know, they have empathy and they have like brain cells. And it's, you know, it's interesting that she's more than happy to put this stuff on the news. Like it sort of crescendos at one point with there is a home invasion and two dudes walk in with shotguns, kill a bunch of people, and old mate, Bloody Lou,
sees them leave,
films them, and then is happy to go in there and just film these people dying.
Or, well, at first it's like they're dead, but then the last person he gets to, you can hear him still alive.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, like, it's like, it's the obvious point where he's crossed the line.
Yeah.
Like, there's other points where you're like, you should not have done that. And I would not do that. But, like, I still view you as a human, maybe. At this point, you're like, you are a sociopath. Someone's bleeding out in front of you.
Perfect word.
And, like, you don't stop and call the police because you're, you know, it's,
absolutely.
Super dark movie.
And it's, but the way it satires, you know, like the sensationalism, and with that Nina character specifically, just like so on the money.
It's an investigation of we're already getting into themes, but like the power of like the dark power of ambition, like the downside of ambition on both sides.
Yeah.
As well as like I think a satire to your point on the news, and an investigation of like, hey, like doesn't the modern news
and
what capitalism has done for it? Like it's not about actual truth.
Nah.
And there's always that one guy. Is he the producer?
The guy who's always pushing back.
Yeah, pushing back, saying this isn't the story. You're making something up. Like,
right.
I
like that.
Yeah, it was a really, really interesting. And then like even an investigation of LA, like in so many ways,
beautifully shot,
but also just like the entertainment industry as a culture.
Right.
When he just rips her apart. At that little Mexican,
wow!
They say it's a taste of Mexico.
Let's wait till we get into the performances just a sec, because that for me is one of like the pinpoint moments.
It's such a good scene
of him just having, you know, zero cares about human life.
Yeah,
and it's not when he's looking at dead people, people dying, filming them. It's that moment.
Yeah,
and I'm like, holy shit, So basically, like the story goes, he's selling to Nina, and Nina is, you know, lapping it up. She's getting more ratings from his videos. And he effectively blackmails her into going on a date with him. And she does it in quotation marks, you know, as a professional courtesy. I think she uses the words. and he just full blackmails her.
Yeah.
Just like effectively telling her, this is what's going to happen. We're going to have sex. And then you're going to like it. It's like,
I mean, but it's like, it's
whoa.
not even like that. Like, that's how it starts.
Yeah, right.
But then it like, he deconstruct. He's so intelligent, this guy. He is like kind of like it's almost like a beautiful mind, but if it went a dark way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's basically deducted that she needs him more than he needs her. He's undervalued right now to her. He's got an exclusive relationship with her, and that she's at the end of her contract. She's on the graveyard vampire shift of the worst channel news network. So no one needs him more than her, and he wants to fuck.
Yeah,
in essence.
Yeah, literally.
And he's like, what is he friends from? He has some crazy quotes in this.
Damn, he's good in this.
Yeah.
The sort of noir elements of this worked back to back with the grittiness you were talking about, make it just such a fascinating picture of LA as a backdrop to this guy's spiral into insanity almost. But it's not, it's too controlled for that. He's just in control of every fucking moment.
Yeah. Well, how about like the Lou Bloom quote where it's, why you pursue something is as important as what you pursue. Like, that's what he talks about when like describing why he's trying to get into this as a career.
Yeah, right.
In one of his first meetings with Nina. And it's like, wait a sec, like you hear that a lot of times as a platitude.
Yeah, right.
Right. In like, hey, what do you want to be when I grow up? Right.
Yeah.
But then you
still don't know, by the way.
But yeah,
one day I'll find out.
Very few do. But my point is, you take a step back and you're like, well, wait. What the fuck does that actually say about you, dude?
Yeah, right.
Like, what is it? What you're like? I actually had to stop and think about that, and it was like, that's actually shocking. Like, you're a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
But he's got some crazy
and so
quotes.
brazenly saying it, you know. And that's one thing about his character, though. He claims to understand people, but I don't think he understands emotion.
He understands incentives.
He understands it so well that he can manipulate it without having any of his own. It's a really interestingly portrayed character, and he does that in no other better way than with Riz Ahmed's character, who is phenomenal in this, by the way. He also looks like he lost a ton of weight for this film. He effectively starts
He looks like a drug addict, yeah.
Yeah. He effectively starts off as a homeless character who's on parole, I think.
Yeah.
And Gyllenhaal offers him this role. Lou offers him a role.
$30 a night.
Not even to begin with. It's an internship to begin with. And it's like, this dude, like, what the fuck? Like, he must really need this. And then it builds and he gets a $30 a night, and then Riz starts playing off against him a little bit and start trying to, you know, fight back against this guy who's been pushing him down the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Such an interesting power dynamic between the two, but you never felt like Lou wasn't in control. Even when Rick was, you know, really pushing on him.
Yeah.
Lou always had the answer.
Yeah.
Every point. And there's something about that for me that's a bit Captain Marvel-esque, which I didn't quite vibe with me. He was in control a bit too much. I felt like...
I don't think so. I think it was pretty believable. Like, this is a guy that's like a very, very intelligent individual. He's like obviously on the spectrum. He's like self-taught in everything he does. He's targeted someone.
No, you're right.
Who has such a...
That's what I was going to get at.
He has such an advantage over...
Yeah, you're right.
On purpose.
And I think probably you find that through the film.
Yeah.
And that's maybe counteracting the sort of the point that I was making there. Like, he is targeting these people, right? Because he knows he can get that advantage of them. Fucking really interesting, man.
Totally.
But it's interesting as well that both did you know this? Both Gyllenhaal and Riz Ahmed, they actually did ride along with real Nightcrawlers in LA to prepare for the role, to get the vibe of them. I mean, I can see that. They've got
what a weird job.
Fucking weirdness, man. But I think to portray that, you'd have to be a bit weird.
For sure. For sure. Do you know what sphere stands for, Tommy?
Sphere?
What do you know what fear stands for?
Fear, tell me.
False evidence appearing real. What the fuck was that about?
I don't know.
That's a weird... I was just like, again, like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of moments like that in this film. The interview scene between Riz Ahmed and Jake Gyllenhaal as well at the beginning, where Gyllenhaal's pretending he owns this exciting business, is just such a like delicious moment. It's almost like like a snake circling a mouse. You know what I mean? And it's a starving snake.
Why hire you? Sell yourself. Go. He goes, okay, well, I'm Rick, of course. I took 3 buses to get here. I finished high school. I need a job. I'll do just about anything. That's me. Hire me, Rick. Like, that's the difference between these two people.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
Well, Jay, you've literally just played the two of those different things again. I really like that. I also like a lot of the side characters in this are really
like the
good.
other Nightcrawlers.
Yeah, the other Nightcrawlers are really good in this. I find I think a lot of the anchors are the news people are actual news people.
Yeah, what's her name is for sure
Yeah.
the Asian woman. I forget her name.
But anyway,
Sharon Tate as Sharon Tate.
Correct, perfect. The
There you
film then carries on as Jake Gyllenhaal's character Lou, basically murders his competition by severing his brake line in his van, which in itself is just brutal. But then he goes and films it, like it's just oh man,
I missed that.
Yeah, so
he severed it.
Yeah, so there's a scene where the guy.
I was working as I watched this.
Yeah, right.
Before.
So the guy, the competition is getting to the cases before he is, and he's
yes.
realizing that he's slipping. And
I remember
see him go to the van, and he comes out from under the van, and you're like, "Oh, that's a weird thing to be doing. What's it?" And you quickly realize that he severed the brakes because old mate
crashes into a pole,
straight into a pole,
and then he films him.
And this is when Riz starts being a bit like, "Whoa,"
because he's like, "Dude, he's one of us, man." Like,
yeah,
but he's not. I think that this is like. Not when he knows he's weird, he questions him, but when he truly pushes him and questions him at the end, and he says, what does he say? He has that weird, like, roundabout way of saying, I'm going to murder you if you don't do this.
It's like, get out the car.
Yeah, like, it was crazy.
But, like, that's the same thing. That's the control at all times. And so the movie then effectively takes a step forward, and what we see is the men who were involved in the home invasion, who, murdered those people, Jake's kept their details, even though the police are trying to track them down, and wants to use it for spectacle. So he calls in a police call against these guys, using his own name, which I thought was dumb.
So bold.
Use his own name. I'm like,
I mean, but like almost worse to lie because like they're going to be able to voice match that.
That's true.
But like,
or you get Riz to call.
Pay someone else.
You get Riz to call
it.
in. And the idea is what they're doing is he's trying to set up a spectacle whereby these two robbers have a showdown with the police.
He's basically trying to create his own movie.
Yeah. He can film it. Yeah. So we are now getting to the opposite end of the spectrum where he's creating the drama. Yeah. And it is fucked.
Yeah.
And I think this is where it was like, when I talked about those cultural differences at the beginning, when I was saying we don't have this in the UK, this is where I was going this is something I can just not wrap my head around.
I don't know that is like that is fictional.
I'm completely assuming
sure.
Most of that is not based on real life.
But I guess the point being, it's like if you can go make money and watch people die and then sell it not for what it was, but as a lie.
Yep.
Really, what is the difference between that and this? Like, not that far of a jump. And I guess that's the point of the film. Like,
and that's what's scary about it. And there are people doing this and willing to do this.
And so it's like, what does that say about your moral compass even to begin with? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
and again, it's that escalation, pulling the guy out of the vehicle so you can film him in a better spot.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And he's building up to killing the woman. It's Lenny, you know what I mean? Like, it's that. And I was the whole time like, what's the worst thing he's going to do? What is the worst thing that he can do, and what is he gonna do?
Yeah.
Turns out it is this. He sets up this situation, which also gets his partner Riz killed, even though kind of wanted that. I think
that was for sure. I mean, he lies to him. He says he's dead.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it was I don't know if it was planned the whole time, but it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
If it wasn't that thing, it was going to be something else.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? He basically said as much as to Riz's dying breath.
And the action's just like brutal. Like it doesn't hold back the film, and I like that about it as well. Actually, it doesn't pander to audiences. It's like, this is fucked up.
Yeah,
which is good.
And I liked how they like had a lot of like LA references as well.
Yeah, right.
On the street names.
Yeah, like what?
La Cienega. Why'd you take La Cienega? We could have got off of the 2. I'm like, I know that. I know where that is.
I've been there.
Yeah.
He's a beautiful mind, isn't he? So anyway, the ending of the film, wrapping up a little bit, is that he gets away with all of it somehow and ends up carrying on building his own business.
Yeah, and has like a bunch of different team members. He's like the leader of the Nightcrawlers.
He
He's got
then
3
has
vans.
2 vans.
Yeah.
And it's, I wonder, so I was watching that end scene and I was a bit like, could this all be in his head? Could this be him? It's obviously not.
Yeah.
I get that, but I was like, surely he's not just going to get away with this. Like, surely not. But he just does. Carries on.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel as if something like this actually happened with a triple murder, they would get a warrant to look at this shit. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. It was known that he was at the event as within minutes of it happening.
Yeah, right.
You have to be like, this guy could be a suspect. Car. Yeah. Like they would probably get a warrant.
Too many
and he'd prove his innocence, nowadays. But then he'd also prove that he was obstructing justice by not giving the video originally.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets away with it. It's fucked up.
Anyway,
broke my brain a little bit. Like, so my overall feelings about this film are that I really liked it, but it's not a film I would want to go back.
I watched it again and I did enjoy watching it.
Yeah,
again.
right.
But it was like obviously almost 10 years later.
Could you
It's
take
7 out of 10 years.
different things out of it?
It's not that I took different things. It's just that I enjoyed it was super pointy, this movie.
Right.
It knew exactly what it wanted to say. It was like super intentional with
fat.
its tone, not a lot of fat, really great acting performance. Like anytime all those things come together, I could watch a film again because of how good it is, right?
That's
like
a fair point.
for all the ways people show up. But
what are your tones and themes?
blurred lines of modern journalism and the dark side of ambition.
Yeah, absolutely. Ambition versus morality, same thing. Media ethics and responsibility. I had who's responsible for this guy? He should have a handler. You know what I mean? Like no, but like as in responsibility of the station. The station should call him out so many times.
There's something to be said about like this as a investigation of just like independent contractors in general.
Yeah, right.
Like the concept of an independent contractor is abused. It's kind of like legally boring, but by our government, our military, like there's so much corruption in America through this like mechanism of like, I don't have liability because I just hired them. Right. But like the government does that all the time. They hire special interest groups to go say things about a topic that they're not themselves allowed to talk about. And it's like, is that not the fucking same thing? Of course it is. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to fund someone. Yeah. So that's like that. It does shed light on like a broken part of American capitalism, I think.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
All right. What are your 3 best, 3 worst? So we do 3 best, 3 worst. If you don't realize already, it's the 3 reasons why you might want to watch this and 3 reasons why you might not. Sometimes you don't even make 3.
True. The strong tone and theme.
Yeah, right.
I really like that.
Yeah.
The acting with Jake Gyllenhaal and
Jake's one of mine.
Riz Ahmed. And what else? I think like
Raz? You mean Riz?
Riz Raz.
Raz Al Ghul.
Raz.
It's the Batman. It's the Batman.
What is my third, dude? I think just in general, like the topic. It's very much like you're pulling the covers on something that I didn't know existed.
Right.
Like the topic of Nightcrawling. Like
that's
it was like a little subgenre that like sub. What do you call that? Like a counterculture or like a.
It's almost a counterculture.
I didn't know that was it. Like that was a thing that
an underground culture. Yeah. That's one of mine actually. The fact that I had no idea about this existing, even my Britishness. Like not knowing it's a thing, it's fascinating to me to understand more about that.
Yeah.
I also had the cinematography. Like it was so intentional. Like, everything in this was painting a picture of a gritty noir city, and every shot of Jake Gyllenhaal it was really beautiful. And obviously Jake's performance, like you said, like so good, so good. What about worst?
Worst would probably be. I mean, like I wouldn't say it's worse, but you might not like a movie that's this brutal.
Yeah, right.
So like some people might not like that.
I struggled with worst, by the way. It's tough.
I don't think there's a lot of bad things to this movie. It's just not. Maybe it's not a movie for you. It's a bit depressing at times.
Yeah, it is. It's a real reflection of a specific human being.
Yeah,
that's not either a great human being.
Yeah, it's not a happy-go-lucky story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's depressing. I'm going to say it's just like off-putting. Like if you like, it's not like a happy ending.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well, it is for him.
That's all I have. Yeah, that's all I have for it.
Not for the people.
I
just had it felt a bit disjointed at times, and that's a weird. I mean, it's a weird take because, like you say, it was really there was no fat. It got to the point very quickly, but I sometimes felt like because you were following this unreliable narrator the whole way through. Sometimes perhaps not everything you saw was as it was actually happening at times. That was just a feeling I got. And like I said at the top, this movie was about vibes for me for a lot of the time. I was watching it being like, what is the vibe I'm getting in this scene as much as I was psychoanalyzing it.
There's a lot of dark humor as well.
So much dark humor.
Like you're just laughing at him for how absurd he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they're like running away, like it's really well done. They're running away from that like 3-person murder in a family home. And he's like, criticizing his colleagues for not having the initiative to run towards the gunshots. He's like, you might have learned something or could have helped me. I need you to show initiative in this career. And you're just like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, it's just, that's another positive, to be honest. It's dark humor. If you like dark humor, there's plenty of that.
I'm all about dark humor. You know me. Let's talk about the critical reception then. So tell me, DL, what do you think the current IMDb score is for this?
8.2.
7.8. I'm not sure about that. That feels kind of low to me. However, tell me what you think the Rotten Tomatoes is.
85.
95.
Wow.
So both critics and the public clearly had a good time with it.
IMDb is so weird sometimes. It's just off sometimes.
IMDb? What's that?
But usually, like, for the good ones, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Like, this one I would have thought would have been in the 8s for sure.
I wonder if it is kind of dark and some people weren't into that.
Yeah, some people are just angry.
Yeah, right? Not even that. People just be like, I don't know if this is for me. Maybe there's just not enough Mark Wahlberg in it.
Yeah, true. That is a problem sometimes.
It is. I mean, in this film, it's a massive problem.
Yeah, it's an issue. It's one of my 3 worst, actually. Now I have 2.
Let's go back to that, actually. My 3 worst are not enough Mark Wahlberg. Not enough Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. And finally, Letterboxd, out of 5, what do you think that is? The classic, always 3.6, but isn't always 3.6.
3.75.
Ooh, it's 4.
That's strong.
Surprising.
That's strong.
Users clearly like this on Letterboxd, but not so much on IMDb, which is a little bit baffling. Tell me then, our famous rating system, which is, as always, as the internet is so binary, is this better or worse than the most average movie we know, which is Aquaman 2018, and why?
So much better.
Righto.
And for all of the above previously stated reasons.
I think this film isn't for everyone. I would say, I really enjoyed it, but I could see why you would be like, nah, I really did not enjoy this. Everyone's fucked up in it. It's got a really backward view of society, especially in LA. I'm going to say worse just because I don't think everyone's going to love this film.
It's got to be controversial sometimes.
Big time. It made me cringe more than I enjoyed it. The first time watching it, I think if I watched it back, I'd get more out of it. But this first time, I was like, oh.
I mean, Aquaman made me cringe.
Yeah, in a different way, though. In a very different way.
What do you mean? That's a shocking take by Tommy, but sometimes he's known for those.
It is a good movie, though. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Finally, then, DL, would you like a little bit of true or false trivia? Of
course. I already ruined it. You only have 2 for me.
Ruined one of them. There's 3 for you. I got 4 just in case you managed to sneak a few in there. You know me. True or false, DL? During the scene where Jake Gyllenhaal screams himself in the mirror, Gyllenhaal got so into it.
Yes.
He improvised the scene and broke the mirror by accident.
True.
Is that true or is that false?
True.
It is true. He accidentally cut his hand in the process. He was driven to a hospital nearby and was after a 19-hour day of working and got 46 stitches.
46?
That's unreal.
That's a really big cut.
It's a brutal cut. That's worse than Leonardo DiCaprio in that Django film. Everyone always tells that
he did the thing.
Fact about where he kills the glass.
And rubbed it on her face.
That's a bit grim, isn't it?
Fucking gross.
True or false, DL? Dan Gilroy's note to Jake Gyllenhaal for the scene where Lou reveals his grand career plan to Nina was to play it as if he is attacking her. Is that true or is that false?
To play it as if he's
verbally attacking, I think the idea is.
True.
Actually, false. It was.
Sorry, no. It would be more like to seduce her. Yeah. I was going to say. Actually, I didn't really hear your question. I was not paying attention. I was thinking about your next question, which I thought it was going to be. I thought I could predict it. Anyway, that makes sense. It's more like he was seducing her, but he was being a dick as he did it.
The note was to play it as if he was proposing to her.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's actually a really good note.
True or false, DL, finally. The plant that Lou waters in his apartment was originally a dog in the script. Is that true or is that false?
He waters a dog?
No, as in he was meant to have a dog rather than a plant.
I think that's probably true, but I don't know why they would do that.
Well, they actually took the dog out of it because they felt that it made Lou too likable.
I agree. Yeah.
And the dog kept getting away. No, it made him too likable. I find that fascinating.
No, that is. I agree with that because like it is like. It's like means he has a companion. Like he should be isolated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for him to be that at all times.
To be a plant guy. Yeah.
It would be funny if he was a plastic plant and he was talking to it like Mark Wahlberg does.
Oh, yeah.
Then there'd be more Mark Wahlberg.
Only Mark Wahlberg can do that well.
Yeah, ultimately, man, I really liked this film, even though it made me uncomfortable a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's sometimes good.
That's sometimes good. It's good to be uncomfortable sometimes.
I mean,
do something that pushes your boundaries every day.
Just not for 3.5 hours about like a, desecration of a tribe. Like that is a little too much uncomfortable for me.
And the hair, not as good as Jake Gyllenhaal's either. We're obviously talking about Kills of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
If you want to hear us talk about that, we do have an episode on it. Go back and check it out. It's a recent one. Do you want to wrap up the show, DL?
I do. A big thank you to Matthew Bliss for editing and mastering this week's episode. If you'd like to hire him, he's the guy. Head to MatthewBliss.net and book a consultation today. I wonder what those consultations are like.
Oh, man, that'd be great.
Does he show up in a suit?
I don't know. If anyone's got this far in our show ever and gone onto one of those, I'd be surprised. Matt, we love you. We're sorry we're not better.
Yeah, we'll give you more referrals if we could. If you want to hear his work, listen to him from My Home to Yours, an expat repat podcast where him and his wife share some experiences about moving across the world.
And don't forget the Dead Drop, my man.
And of course, the Dead Drop. Which
Dead Drop's back, baby. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of video games that are coming out or have just come out, so go listen to the Dead Drop.
Yeah,
video game
cuts out all the shit, all that media shit we were just talking about. He cuts it out for you so you can just get the news.
All the stuff that we, stuff that we,
all the crap we talk about in our spare time.
Yeah, man. So it was a good one. All in all, I loved the movie. I mean, It was a good rewatch. I will have to come up with one that I haven't seen next time.
Come up with anything, man. I'm happy to do anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, something I haven't seen. I've seen a lot of movies though. A lot of flying back and forth.
I've seen a lot of movies too, but just not always the ones you have.
Until next time, man.
Tally ho!
Tally ho!